It's DSP's Game of the Year Awards, the top 10 best games of 2014. Honorable mention, Bayonetta 2. Well, here's a game that many questioned would ever be released. After going through development hell and searching for a definitive publisher, Bayonetta 2 finally found a home on the Wii U. And boy am I glad it did, because seeing this game with awesome visuals, 60 frames per second, it really was just a gorgeous thing to behold. Having a lot of the cool, varied gameplay of the original Bayonetta game, multiple unlockable weapons, and even more newly refined open world gameplay with lots of searching and hidden items, it really was refreshing to return back to the world of Bayonetta. If anything, the only reason I feel this game isn't on my top 10 countdown is that it really just didn't seem to hit all the high notes of the original Bayonetta. In fact, a lot of the times it feels like you're kind of going through the motions, especially when in certain portions of the game you kind of end up refighting some of the enemies from the original. Also, it really did lack a little bit in the realm of the giant level boss fights that were present in the first game, so there are a few reasons why I think it kind of is not as good as the original. However, it was still outstanding. If you're looking for a hack and slash action adventure style game with crazy quirky Japanese culture and just a lot of off the wall zany fun, Bayonetta 2 is your cup of tea. Hopefully a lot of you have Wii U so you can check this game out, because it is console exclusive and deserves your time. Up next on our official Game of the Year countdown, it's The Evil Within. When Shinji Mikami announced that he was leaving Capcom to move on to his own ventures, a lot of people thought, wow, this could be a cool reimagination and reinvigoration of the survival horror franchise. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people had too high hopes, because when The Evil Within was released this year, a lot of people said, well, this really isn't what we're looking for. It plays a lot similarly to Resident Evil 4 and kind of almost has that same kind of vibe, to which I say, great, because I like Resident Evil 4, and I think that if you take this game for what it is, rather than having unreasonable expectations, The Evil Within is quite a fun game, with interesting puzzles, unique enemies, and let's face it, a ridiculous amount of over-the-top gore. Now, the one gripe I have with the game is that the story isn't 100% really explained. Once again, as with most of these survival horror games, you don't really get a definitive, clear ending, and it leaves itself open to interpretation, which is kind of a cop-out. If you're looking for a hardcore survival horror game, that's not really what you get. You're getting more of a run-and-gun action game with a lot of cheap jump scares and gore, but that doesn't mean the game isn't fun. Similarly to how I kind of judged Resident Evil 6 years ago, if you don't have unreasonable expectations, I think you're really going to enjoy The Evil Within, as I did. So The Evil Within making number 9 on my Game of the Year countdown for 2014. Check it out if you haven't. Coming up next, a game whose second outing was a little bit difficult to place, makes it to my top 10 games of the year.